Here come all the Steve Jobs comments. United may swoop for Werner. Martinez is not for sale. Stage 2 of the project restart is underway. A transfer roundup and Thursday favourites all coming up in the next few minutes, as I'm your host, Matt Froelich, here with the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. So first off, and Manchester United may be swooping in for Timo Werner, or because Liverpool don't want to pay his release clause. Now, apparently that stands at around £49 million and does go up until June the 15th. If a club doesn't sign him before then this release clause will roll over to next summer. It's kind of like the lottery, except you win a player instead. So why won't Liverpool pay? Well, they don't really think he's worth it. In my mind, this is both a good business strategy, but also pretty offensive. Like, imagine if they're trying to woo a player, bring him into the club. Come on, Timo, you'll be brilliant. We love you. You're fantastic. This is how you'll fit in. Liverpool's a great club, but we don't really think you're worth that much. I mean, it may not be sending the exact right message. Maybe Liverpool know they can do that because it's clear that Timo Werner has his heart set on a move to Anfield to link up with Jurgen Klopp. So, if someone's so eager to join Liverpool, seems highly unlikely they're going to go to their biggest rivals in Manchester United, does it? Well, money talks in football. If they're willing to pay the 49 million, which United probably would, Leipzig are going to say yes. The release clause is going to be, well, they can offer Timo Werner a hell of a lot of money to join the club. I'm not so sure whether this is going to happen. Personally, I think that Timo Werner's got good enough options that he won't necessarily need to have his head turned by a little bit more extra cash. Maybe he'll hold out until next summer. We're never actually going to know within the next few days, so it's just pure speculation for now. Anyway, what it does do, though, is only back up my theory that Liverpool aren't necessarily the club to overpay or to pay ridiculous transfer fees. Like, Alisson, yes, that was a hell of a lot of money. Same thing with Van Dijk, but it was an only big one in that transfer window, and it was definitely worth it. These are already top class players. The rest of the time, like Mo Salah was around 33 million. Same thing with Sadio Mane. I don't really see Liverpool as that club to go and spend a ridiculous amount of money, which is also why I can't see the likes of Kai Havertz, who's apparently going to be over 100 million, and especially Kylian Mbappe joining the club. It's just not really in Liverpool's DNA to spend so much on one player. They do spend a lot overall, but just not on one player, and especially with this Timo Werner news, and they're willing to go around apparently 30 million again. So they're really skipping out on just 15 to 20 million, which isn't too much. Anyway, if they don't do it, and if United don't anyway, then Inter Milan are the other ones who are set to make a move for him. But this is all linked to the sale or not of Lautaro Martinez, and apparently he is not for sale unless someone comes in with his release clause. So Piero Asilio, Inter Milan sporting director, has said that Barcelona are definitely interested. They've got a good relationship with the club, but they know if they or anyone else wants to sign Martinez, they're going to have to pay the €111 million release clause in full. As you mentioned, if big clubs like Liverpool and Manchester United are umming and ahhing about spending 49 million, I can't really see anyone else just going, yeah, you know what, here's 111 million. Certainly in the last few weeks, Barcelona seem to have offered every single player in their squad, apart from like Ter Stegen and Messi, to Inter Milan to try and get Lautaro Martinez to join. It's just not going to happen. The thing is, as much as Barcelona think they're sweetening the deal by sending over a first-team player, maybe Inter don't want those players. Maybe they don't think they're good enough, or maybe they're just not really that interested in joining, as we've seen with Arthur, who, despite links with a swap deal for Arthur to Juventus and Pjanic to Barcelona, doesn't want to leave the club. So it's pretty simple. Pay up the 111 million Barca or you won't get Martinez. Personally, I don't think they'll do it, and I don't think anyone should be spending that kind of money on him because, well, I'm not quite sure he's hitting those numbers just yet. Anyway, Inter Milan clearly see him as a big part of their future, and the fact they're looking to sell Mauro Icardi to PSG as well, and they've got Romelu Lukaku and Martinez forming a pretty good partnership up front, I can see why they're probably not so eager to sell him just yet. But moving on from that and to Project Restart, which is the Premier League's project, well, an ambitious project to try and get the Premier League back going. And unfortunately, within the last round of testing, 6 unnamed players have tested positive for COVID-19. But this apparently is going to stop the restart, as not only are they just going to go into isolation, but also all the clubs unanimously agreed yesterday to return to contact training. Now, this contact training means there will be tackling involved and small-sided games, but they're still going to minimise the amount of contact in and around the clubs where possible. Of course, they're not just going to completely sack off all the advice they've been given in the last few months to try and avoid the spread of the disease. Anyway, whether it comes to a return date, maybe the June the 12th is a little bit too early. It looks like June the 11th is when La Liga are going to restart with that massive derby between Betis and Seville, but the Premier League may be coming back 1 week later around the 19th. Yeah. The other warning, though, that has been fired from the Premier League is that all clubs are going to be on a pretty tight schedule. So, if UEFA are going to stick to this deadline that all domestic seasons have to be completed by July 21st, that leaves the Premier League 6 weeks to get all of their games done. It's pretty much going to be a game every few days. And don't get me wrong, for football fans like me and you guys, that's absolutely brilliant. But for the players coming straight back from barely a pre-season, let's be honest, into games every 2 or 3 days, and then for some teams into cup competitions and European Cup competitions, there's going to be one hell of a tiring summer. Anyway, it looks like the schedule may go as follows. Apparently there's going to be 4 or 5 kickoff times on the weekend. Something like 12, 2, 4, 6 and 8 on a Saturday and Sunday, with 6 and 8 p.m. on a Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Get ready for a feast of football. So next up, in a quick roundup of the rest of the day's transfer news that you might have missed, where Rangers have made the loan deal for Yanis Hadji from Genk, a permanent one for £4 million. Liverpool are interested in bringing in Adama Traore from Wolves, so much so that Jurgen Klopp has attempted to contact the player himself. Chelsea are interested in bringing Ajax fullback Nicolas Tagliafico to the club after missing out on Porto's Alex Telles, who, as we mentioned yesterday, is on the verge of signing for PSG. And Man City are interested in Ismail Bennacer, the Milan midfielder who is impressed since joining from Empoli last summer. So lastly but not least, Thursday favourites. This is where you guys ask me some of my 5 favourite or least favourite things in football. This one comes from the Munoir this week, who has said, Matt, who are your 5 top teams that are underperforming this season? So let's get straight into it with Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, in the last couple of years, they've been a brilliant attacking side. There was a DFB Pokal victory over Bayern Munich. They, of course, got to the Europa League semis last season before being knocked out by eventual winners Chelsea. They were great. And now this season, things have really gone downhill. They finished 7th last year, but they sold Rebic, Aller, and Luka Jovic all in the same summer. Like, they were the deadliest attacking trio in the Europa League last year and one of the deadliest in the whole of European football. So to lose all those 3 and not really replace them hasn't been best, and now they kind of find themselves in a bit of a relegation scrap looking over their shoulder. Definitely a poor season for Frankfurt. And talking of teams that did quite well in European competition last year, Spurs. It's been a very poor season for Tottenham. They've gone from the Champions League final to 1 year later having a shocking season, not having the right manager in charge after Mauricio Pochettino was sacked, and after years of finishing within the top 4 consistently, it now looks like, unless there's going to be a Harry Kane-shaped miracle, Spurs are going to miss out on Champions League football this season. When the football comes back, there are just teams in better positions, literally in better positions in the table, but also well equipped to finish in the top 4. Personally, I don't think the top 4 is going to change. I mean, obviously Liverpool, Manchester City are in there. I think it's going to be Leicester in 3rd and Chelsea in 4th. And next up, moving on to another league for some underperformers, and it's Napoli. This one I can't quite wrap my head around. In the last few years, they have been the team, if any, who are going to knock Juventus off their perch as the kings of Serie A. But this season, they're like 8th now. I mean, they've got Kalidou Koulibaly, one of the most talked about and expensive defenders in world football, who's a brilliant player, and some top quality attackers, but things just haven't gone right on the pitch. It looks like they may miss out on European football altogether, and it's really been a season to forget for Napoli. They didn't even lose anyone that big, and they bought an Irving Lozano for quite a big amount of money, but he hasn't hit the ground running either. Moving into Liga, and talking of teams who are going to miss out on European football, Lyon. It's not been a great season for them, and in fact, when Liga was cancelled, they finished in 7th position, meaning that they have missed out on European football for the first time this century, for the last 20 odd years. I mean, this is the Lyon side that won like 7 league titles in a row. From, I don't know, it's like 2002, 2009. They're unbelievable. They're brilliant in the Champions League. They're still in the Champions League. They beat Juventus 1-0. They've still got the second leg to play. But in the league, it's been pretty poor. I mean, they've had big injuries to Oumar Soulé in defence, Jeff René Adelaide, and of course Memphis Depay as well. They've still got Moussa Dembélé doing bits, but this was the team that didn't exactly replace the fact that they lost Tanguy Ndombele, Ferland Mendy, and Nabil Fekir last summer. And lastly but not least, moving into La Liga, and Celta Vigo are just a team that should be performing better, no less because of all their attacking talent. They're kind of like Frankfurt. They had a brilliant few seasons. They really did well in the Europa League a couple of years ago when they lost to United in the semi-finals before United went on to win it. And, well, since then, it's just been relegation dogfight after relegation dogfight. They just can't put the ball in the back of the net, despite the fact they've got so many good players. Iago Aspas is in the Spanish national squad, a brilliant player who just can't seem to hit form this season. They brought back Santi Mina from Valencia. There's Rafinha and Denis Suarez on loan from Barcelona. They've also got some brilliant midfielders like Yokoslu. They sold Lobotka in the January transfer window to Napoli. They've got Bryce Mendes as well. On paper, you would think that Celta Vigo would be much better than they are, but they've got the second lowest goal scoring record in the league with just 22 goals scored this season. It's not good enough, and they definitely are underperforming. So there you have it, my 5 teams who are underperforming this season. Let me know yours in the comment section down below and your thoughts on the rest of today's daily news. Whilst you're at it, smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. And until next time, I will see you guys later.